I'm sweating quite a lot since I removed my body hair and after I've had a shower. But it's day 10, right? So we know that the glue has mixed with body sweat and everything underneath, and now it would be lifting. And especially now that I'm sweating as well, it totally is lifting, and you can see how shiny my forehead is, because that's not water anymore, that's just sweat. I'm just totally drenched. It's not winter anymore, it's springtime, so this is gonna get worse. I need a fan now in my bathroom. I might get one so I can remain cool. 1 second, I'll see if I can get one. Not much bench space. This thing's completely covered in dust. It can be moved up that way to face into me, which is good, which means I probably don't need a hairdryer anymore because I'm just going to use cool anyway. But it's full of dust at the moment. It's been sitting unused for a couple of years. And all that dust is just going to collect on here. Let's see, what do you like? Okay, so I'm glad that's there now. It would be better if it was up here, not next to any water. It's just, your bathrooms are usually not designed properly. Like the bench space is usually not good enough, the lighting is usually not good enough. And they usually haven't thought things through. They haven't got a rear mirror or a full-length body mirror, or there are lots of things missing. These are vital first world things that you want. If you live in mud and you can't even afford a can of food, then my videos are probably a little bit too first world for you, I'm sorry to say. Just be bald, it's like the least of your problems, right? Right. Just getting rid of body hair, you fucking kidding me? I'm just trying to find a grain of rice so they can feed my family. Yes. In that case, don't worry about this stuff. I'll try to help you when I'm rich. In the meantime, help yourself, because there are about 4 billion other people who are starving to death. First of all, step 1, don't breed anymore. You haven't got the food or resources to look after any kids, so just don't breed. Rule number 1, okay? I used to think that the poverty of the world could be solved, and that would be like most of the world's issues solved. But that's just humans. And then we'll overpopulate and destroy the world. So better if we just stop breeding, right? Not forever. I reckon 100,000 humans on the planet's okay. So we just have to get rid of like 6.9 billion people. I've just peeled this back because you can't peel off old glue while it's wet. And because I'm sweating so much, that's going to be wet for a while. I'll just have to call the guy and tell him I'm going to be late. Okay, so it's pretty dry now. I'm just going to clean my forehead. Some C22 and a baby wipe. Some of that superfluous glue off there. It's really slimy. So basically the glue breaks down over time when it's attached to your scalp, because it basically just gets mixed in with your body sweat and it turns yellow, and that's probably from, I don't know, either the glue breaking down plus the sweat of your body. I guess, yeah, a white t-shirt under the armpits can turn yellow, can't it? It's probably from the piss from the bacteria, or whatever they do. It's bacteria throughout the entire planet's environment, so it's basically the microorganisms in your body constantly trying to eat you. And when you die, the worms don't need to eat you, just the bacteria that lives in your body. It eats what it can, and then I guess whatever's left starves or eats its way out of the box, or gets eaten by things underground. And they don't really seem to be interested in eating your skeleton, because when people are exhumed or dug up hundreds of years later, there are still bones. So if you care for the environment, you'll be cremated. No, probably put your bones into the environment. But I think even when you, like my grandfather was cremated, and my mum, and so was my grandma as well. So they've sprinkled some ashes, but I didn't ever look at them properly, but my mum said there are bits of bone and stuff in there. That's a bit sickening. I mean, I love my mum so much, and my grandparents, but to think that sorry, I'm just playing Risk. So yeah, the glue hasn't dried completely, but I have taken the heat away from my body by sitting in an air-conditioned room for the last half an hour, which means I am running late. But this glue it's got some stick left and I can push it down, but it hasn't got much hold to it though. And this bit here, I'm gonna have to probably cut that bit out because there are no hairs on it. So yeah, it's a lot harder to get the glue off when it's wet like this. If I let it, if I had hours, I would just let it be exposed to the air and it would just become a bit more hard, solid, so that it would be easier to just get off. So this is going to take a lot longer than usual. I'll pause the video so I can play Risk and concentrate on the game. So I'm kicking ass in the game now. Those guys attacked each other stupidly, I knew they would. So I'm just going to wait till they battle out for the final pieces. I'll just eat them all for breakfast. So as you can see, I'm using the baby wipe now instead of my finger, just so that my finger doesn't have to keep getting dirty. And I'll just use this method. I won. So this glue has been pushed up into the hairs here. Got to be careful about that, otherwise I'll have to cut out those hairs. But like it was a globular cluster, and it was just able to be removed quickly. Yeah, so when it's really wet, the glue, it's much harder to take off. Much easier, of course, than lace. Forget about this one with lace. It's insane. Don't even think about it with lace. Yeah, all this is pretty much clean. I will put some alcohol in that afterwards, but I've still got to get this right-hand side chunk off, just a sec. Okay, so I've cleaned enough of the glue off now. Just remember, all that deterioration and yellowing of the glue and the mixing with the bacterial piss is going all the way back in there. So when I go all the way back on after 3 weeks of wearing this, so this is day 10 of wearing this. On day 21 or so, I'll definitely take it off, either on that day or before then, to remove the whole thing, clean it completely, and then put it back on. And shave the regrowth underneath. I'm just going to spray it with some alcohol so it feels a bit cleaner. But I don't want to be gluing onto wet alcohol, so I'll just wait for that to dry, which should be, if it's thin enough, 30 seconds. I'll be putting this onto the poly. But you can see how wonky it is because of how much I've pulled off the front. So I might do this in, well, I'll see if I can do it in one go. If it gets too troublesome, I'll do it in 2 goes so that I can be more accurate with the front edge. It's harder to glue the very front without getting glue in the hairs if it's too far, if it's too wonky like this, see? There are some people who say just all you need to glue is the rim of the hairpiece. You don't have to glue the insides, but that would cause a lot of friction and sweating and stuff. By the feel of it, I think I'm going to do this in 2 parts, which is going to make 15 minutes turn into half an hour. So I'll do the bottom half of this hairpiece, of this front rim, and then I'll stick it down, and then I'll do the second half, the very front tip. So I'll go up as much as I can, because I'm finding this even on the outer edge here a bit difficult. You want to make sure the glue is thick enough around the front edge, but you don't want to get any of your hairs caught in there. I was going to cut that bit out too. Oh well, I guess it has to stay. So what I'm hoping is going to happen is that that glue will dry. See, it's getting harder to do up there now. I'm hoping it'll dry just enough so that I don't have to wait for it to dry. So I can just stick it down while it's wet enough, while it's a bit wet, and then complete the front. Because I'm in a bit of a hurry. My back's hurting a lot though. I went to the back surgeon. He said, well, you're going to be slightly disabled until you have surgery, but then the surgery is no guarantee that your back will be fixed. Just got glue in my hair a bit up here. So I've got the shakes a bit. Plus I was awake for 2 or 3 days straight before I just had that sleep earlier today. The bigger the globs, the longer it'll take to dry, so just try to blend that in. Make sure you've got enough, but not too much, all along. Because it will dry as a lump. It's not too noticeable in the grand scheme of things, unless it's right along the front edge or the outside rim. No, I think I'll, for the sake of doing it nicely, because this is going to last me for another probably 10 days or so, I'll wait for it to dry, then I'll do the front edge. Okay, I just haven't got time for this to dry, but I'm going to do something else as well in the meantime. Okay, so I know this is still wet, but I'm going to just hurry it along. See, I put muck in my hair earlier, which is making this job a little bit more difficult, so everything's sticking to my hair at the moment. Be really careful now because it's not stuck down properly at all. Stuck that bit too far away from the edge there. See, it's better to do this all when it's done properly instead of rushing like I am. I need that to go further over there. I could just see through that there was a bit of a gap left between the and this side as well. Stretch that over there, hopefully it'll just stay, but there's a chance that it won't stay now because it's all wet and it'll just recoil. And all along the front here, I've sort of squished some glue out towards the front. It's not a great idea to do this, but I'm really running out of time. I'm running late. My cousin's hardly ever available, so I'm going to go to his place and show him this new, well, GarageBand on iPad. It's amazing. I'm making another song. This glue is starting to dry out a bit too much now, so you can see from the glue should just dribble immediately down very naturally. It's still got some dribble to it, but it's starting to dry out, this glue, which means it's harder to do the fine edge bits along there, for example, and you don't want to miss. Oh, that was close. You can see how clumpy it's just become just there for no reason. It's really, in all honesty, if I had infinite amount of money, I would just throw this glue out right now as it is. I've tried spraying alcohol into the glue bottle and shaking it up and leaving it overnight, but that hasn't really had great results in the past. So there's still quite a lot of glue left. But there was a time when I walked away and the lid had been off this glue for an hour. So I might have fucked it up. Yeah, so it's getting a lot harder to do that front edge. You can see it's a lot less easy to work with than it used to be. I will have to wait for 15 minutes for this to dry instead of pushing it down wet, because it's the front hairline. It's the most important part of the whole hairpiece. And if I push it down while it's wet, then glue will squish out onto the forehead. I mean, look at that, that's useless, it's a glob. There are globs all over the place here now. Okay, I'm gonna clean up and get ready to go. Still wet. I've really got to go though. It will squeeze out the front. I feel like I'm starting to sweat again. It still looks just as wet as when I first put it on. I'm just going to push it down. Hopefully it won't squeeze out the front, because I've got to go. Shit, I don't know what's going on over here. I don't have time to fix it though. There's a lot happening over there, whatever the hell's going on. Okay, so that's day 10, poly hairline maintenance. On big butchers, I just wanted to have a look at this. Why is it so dark over here? Well, it goes all the way around, doesn't it? What's going on here? Darkness falls across the land. The midnight hour is close at hand. Well, it doesn't seem to really remain when it's brushed, does it? Maybe it's just because there's a gap between the outer edge I just need to pull it in closer or something. I don't think there actually is any kind of glue build up, or you know, part of the hairpiece is stuck to the so what I'm going to do is just risk the strength of the hold and just pull that off and just bring that closer, because I don't want that gap. Not that it matters when I brush it, but so just remember, all this is new glue along the front edge here, but back there it's still old and weak glue. And you can see where there's no glue at all back here, because I had to kind of just try and cut in around that edge there when I'm trying to make it fit exactly. Don't forget, this is still the first hairpiece that I've sort of cut in to try to make fit exactly to the new shave zone. So from this point there, I guess, is new glue, and all that's old glue with bacteria and shit. It's 10 days old. I'm just wondering if I need to add more glue here, because it looks like there's no glue there at all, really. But once this is a fixed area, that I don't want to flap though. I wouldn't have really needed to put more glue along here. I just know from experience, when you pull it up like this, a bit of alcohol spray isn't really going to do enough to make it re-adhered. So I might just have to leave this out like that for 15 minutes and then reattach it. Probably won't bother doing it on the other side. So this isn't ideal to be putting glue over glue, new glue over old glue, but it'll still add more hold. Yeah, so really, I'm not really quite sure why it looks really dark around that outside edge. It seemed to just disappear the moment I brushed the hairs away from the edge, so I don't know. Really careful with getting glue in the hairs. But don't put a shortage of hair around the edge either. See, I was just about to upload, well, basically transfer all the videos off my phone onto my computer, then put them through Handbrake, then put them into Premiere, then edit, then upload. But then I thought, my viewers will not be very happy if I've got a black glob along the outer edge. I just went, that's fine. It was fine with my cousin. It would have been fine for television even, really. But I know it's there. there's always that little 1mm rim around the entire hairpiece from where you cut it out with the stencil at the original time you cut it out, which I'm sure could be addressed somehow, but it's very fucking hard, you know what I mean? It's almost like something I will probably never deal with. The only time I'll ever deal with it is when it's along the front hairline. But realistically, if you want that edge of the poly to blend more nicely with your perimeter of your shave zone, you probably should get rid of that little 1mm lip of plastic. Still don't know how to do it. And the other thing is, I should ventilate. And if the hairline is too neat across the front, then I should stagger it. So I should stagger it, ventilate, and potentially cut away the outer rim. It's nice to be back here now. I think it should be dry by now. That's right, it's tacky. So now I've just got to use my magic fingers to put it back into position. Far enough over, but not too far over. Okay. I don't want gap or overhang, but I still want to stretch it out over that area. So we don't have that gap again, which means pulling it. Just remember, when it's wet, when the glue's wet, like when I put it down earlier today, I couldn't really effectively stretch it back into. It's not far enough. Pull it over, here. Get your arms into it, man. Don't be a little girly, man. Come on, you can do it. Get out of here. Yeah, having hair product all through my hair doesn't really make the job easier. The hair's not really behaving wispily enough. Do I want to do this side as well? Probably not. It's not very apparent anymore, that dark shadow. It looks a lot better, but there's still a gap back there, isn't there? Not much though, it seems pretty good. Seems pretty good. There's a little bit of a gap there, but I can't be bothered lifting and pushing and sliding and moving around again. Feels pretty accurate actually. But you can see it up here as well. The darkness. It's haunting me. That isn't a massive gap, especially when it's brushed into position. I really want to go through all that again. mean, who's going to tell? It's not a big deal, is it? I mean, I could lift it all up, glue down that side as well, and do that all again. Or I could just do this. Which would I choose to do? I think I'd choose to do what I just did. Fuck it. Maybe in 10 days' time I'll lift that bit up. In fact, in 10 days' time, it'll be time to remove the whole thing and put it back down again. Because the glue will have all become disgusting and the regrowth underneath will have become too long. You can't just leave it on forever. Even for hygiene purposes, I'd say clean out all those dead bacteria or living bacteria underneath your hairpiece. Okay, so this is 10 days old now. It was a little bit wet when I pushed it back down at the front earlier, but I think it was dry enough that the glue really didn't squish out too badly. Right along here. Bit of a mess going around here. And that, all the hair, like I said earlier, has disappeared from that spot there. Yeah, you really don't want a gap, but I can't be bothered fixing that little gap. This side is a lot better. Yeah, I'm so glad I'm back on poly. I hate lace now. This is so good. It's not summer yet though, so when the sweating causes too much lifting, where I'll have to fucking deal with this every single 2 days instead of every 5 days or whatever. And it has been getting fairly hot. But I haven't really been out walking long distances in the sunshine or something. When that happens though, I'll start thinking about ventilating every hairpiece in the future, probably. Unless it causes it to perforate, because you know sometimes I'm a bit rough when I'm pulling on the plastic, and if it's full of holes, then it could be perforated and start ripping and stuff. So I'm not exactly sure how well that how well ventilating will work in that situation. As it stands, even if it was really hot and sweaty underneath, nobody would be able to see it, so long as that bit doesn't lift at the front. And with a brush back look, you're really minimizing that flappage and that leverage of causing the hairpiece to lift at the front as well. Even though I do prefer a sort of a curtainy kind of hairstyle. But we'll be working on that because there's a bit of a gap back here as well, which I could fix all of that, and I'm not going to. I like the length of my sides and back at the moment. How's the bald spot going? You good? I'm really sort of getting into the feel just of the freedom of having the hair away from my face. It just feels a lot cleaner, and I don't have any of this annoyances around. I never have to do that or whatever else, right? I just kind of just in position. This is going to get bulging out on both sides eventually when this grows too long. Currently it is about, let's say, 4 centimeters long, which is just over, well, close enough to, it just says 1 3/4 inches long at the moment. Ideally, it's probably best at about, well, this length is okay. If it gets too thin, it becomes sort of sparse and you can see the scalp through there. Not that anyone would ever think that you're balding right there. It just allows more smooth transitioning between there and there. I'm going very grey here on the sides though, so soon I'm gonna have to start experimenting with this. I thought when I bought this, that this would be like some sort of shampoo that just gradually takes greys away, which is what I prefer, but this, you can see how grey that's becoming now. I don't want to be turning that grey. It's going to go very, very grey soon. So wiry, aren't they? Wow. Yeah, I don't really want to do hair dyeing in a big session. I just want to just like wash the grey out with every time I use shampoo. So if I can find a shampoo version of this, please write it in the comments below. Not just for me, but for anyone else who's going grey and they want to get rid of it. Because I think it probably exists. Some really slow bleach sort of thing. Like there are certain moisturizers that have some sort of element of slow tan. And if people moisturizing their face and stuff every day, then they're getting a sort of slight tan every time they do it. That's the kind of deal I want with. If I'm going to have to do it all the time, forever, then I prefer just a shampoo or something that can get it done without having to go through a big session. Like if I could just get rid of that hair from my shoulders and back and everything, once and for all, I'd consider it. I know you can do laser or something. See, I'm more inclined to get laser hair removal off my back and my ass and everything than get transplants. Because removing hair should be a lot easier than putting hair with today's technology.